information. We do have the hearing scheduled, the continued hearing on the 2023-24 budget scheduled for this evening, but we are going to address the regular Board of Finance meeting for the month of February. There are only one or two transfer items on the agenda, so it should be relatively short. So at this point, I would note that all members of the Board of Finance are present and call the meeting to order, regular meeting of the Board of Finance to order. And all members are present. The second item or third item on the agenda is consideration of minutes from our regular meeting of January 30th, 2023. Can we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written from our meeting on January 30th, 2023.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Lauren. Any discussion on the motion to approve the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Minutes are adopted. Any correspondence? I have none.
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, moving on. New business. A motion to for consideration of budget memo transfer number 5, please.
Make a motion to approve consideration of budget memo transfer number 5, funds 1005 and 2812 fiscal year 23.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. I should note that there are representatives from the board, from the Public Works Department and the garage, Chris Saley, and I think I saw Steve Johnson as well. So if there are any questions or comments that would like to be made, you're certainly welcome to do so. Okay, any questions from members of the board for either Chris or Steve on the transfers? Or the mayor? Seems pretty self-explanatory. So if there are none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Item B.
I'll make a motion for consideration of budget memo transfer number 6, funds 1005 and 2812 fiscal year 23.
Great, and that's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second on the motion to approve budget memo transfer number 6. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Any staff report at this point?
No update at this point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Peter. At this point, I'll take a motion to adjourn our regularly scheduled meeting and reconvene our continued budget. Excuse me.
Make a motion, we close out the regular scheduled meeting and presume our budget hearings.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned and we'll start the budget. Okay. First item on the agenda tonight is probate court, page 26. Welcome, Ben. How are you?
I'm good, Chairman. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. It's page 26. Yes.
Would you like me to start?
Hard to believe you run the whole office on $18,000 a year.
Well, as you know, most of our funding comes from the state.
Yes.
And yeah, we're just looking for the mayor's recommended budget of the $18,819.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board?
Looks good.
All right, I think that's it. Thanks for your time, Ben.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda, Law Department, which as usual, I will be recusing myself from this department. So Scott, if you could take over for me, please.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, thank you. What page are we looking at here?
25. 24 and 20.
24, okay.
24.
All right, do we have a representative from the law department joining us today?
We do, Mr. Moulton. Good evening, John Bertram, City Attorney.
Good evening, Mr. Bertram.
Flat budget, no changes. Nothing different than usual. We did recently resolve the Milford City Hall union contract, so there'll be adjustment in some of the wages, but they're not reflected. I don't believe they're reflected in there because I think the mayor's budget came to you, was submitted prior to our resolving that, but in terms of, it's a flat budget from last year.
That's great. Does anybody on the Board of Finance have any questions for Mr. Bertram?
I guess full staffed.
I'm sorry, Lauren.
Hey, Mr. Bertram, you guys have a full staff right now in your department?
We are down one following the retirement of Kathleen Kennedy. State Representative Kennedy just retired last month. So we actually, there's a little shuffling. So Kathy Kennedy retired. So that position is open and was advertised. I think interviews are going to happen next week or two. Tony Weeks was the acting risk manager for a long time, and she was named full-time risk manager or official risk manager. So the risk management, I mean, the paralegal slot is open, but not yet filled.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Nope.
Ethics Commission, is that you as well?
It is. It is. I'd say bottom page 25, again, flat budget. Asking for a whopping $800. Hoping to keep that allocation there.
Very good, very good. All right, unless anybody else has any other questions, we'll move on to the next. And thank you very much for your time today, Mr. Bertram.
Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Bertram, see ya.
Thank you.
I will yield back to Mr. Chairman Blima there.
Well done, Scott.
It's tough.
Thank
It
you,
was tough.
Scott.
It got a little dicey there near the end, but I think I pulled it off.
All right, well, next item on the agenda, Recreation Department, page 82. I can't see, is anyone here from the Recreation Department? Mr. Mayor, do you see anybody from Recreation? I can't.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, through you, the Recreation Department's director, Bill Garfield, was sick today. He called out of work, terribly ill. I did say that I would pass that along to your board. If you have any questions, I can certainly handle some of the easier ones. For some of the more difficult ones, I can get back to you with specifics from Bill Garfield. I can also have him appear at one of our upcoming meetings. Again, he apologizes, but he did call in sick.
All right, thank you for that information.
Just a quick question, Mr. Mayor, what are the fee paid officials?
Fee paid officials are just that, leagues that are run through the recreation department, whether it's, basketball leagues like Hoops by the Harbor or the rec basketball or softball leagues that are run, all those officials that are paid, they're paid through that line item.
Okay, there's a discrepancy between the department ask and your budget. Are they cutting back?
Let me just take a quick look.
Page 82.
Again, I don't know if it's considered a reduction or an increase, because last year's budget, it's about $8,000 more than it was last year. No, wait 1 second. Yeah, it was about $8,000 more than it was last year. And I think that we tried to account for the increase in minimum wage, but I think that the request for $60,000, the rec department recognized that they were able to kind of do it for the increase of $8,000, which again is about a 20% increase. So actually, it's about a 25% increase, 8,000 for 40. So, or 20% increase approximately from last year is what it's going up by. And I think that the recreation director was okay with that from my recollection. Peter, do you have any other anything else in your notes that would support that?
Yes, I was just looking at Bill Garfield's notes, and so what you said does coincide with that. And I believe that he was going to try to make it work with the 48,000 and perhaps use some reserve funds if necessary.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Peter. Anything further from the board?
And again, if you do have questions or you want me to invite him to an upcoming technical hearing or Wednesday night's hearing, I'm happy to do so. Just let me know.
Thank you. We will, if any members have any questions, we can certainly do that, or just simply request it in writing. If none, move on to page 35, Public Library. Welcome, Christine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you. And thank you to the board for accommodating my my schedule change. I do really appreciate that.
Anytime.
Sure. So the library budget in front of you is relatively flat. A few staffing increases, contractual increases, and that's really about it. As we have done over the past 10 years, we have been managing to add services while we sort of rearrange the funds that we've always been allocated. I'm proud of the work that my staff have done. We've been able to add just this past year or so tablets for in-house use, streaming video services. We've increased our digital collections, really all well within keeping within our budget. Biggest increase that you'll see is in our electronic media account. It is a fund that we are struggling to provide enough content for our residents. So we have definitely been shifting money towards that line item. But all in all, there really are no increases in the total line item, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Thank you. Just a quick question on this year's budget for books.
Mhm.
It's at 105,000, but projected as 165,000. Is that being updated, or was there a reason for that?
No, that is, our book purchasing is done with open POs. The publishing cycle is not once a year, it's a continual, so we do carry POs over from the previous year.
Okay,
So the 105 has actually been our book budget account for almost 13 years, I believe. It has not increased at all. We are really making it work, and while we are trying to increase our electronic content, which is where the demand is. That really skyrocketed during the pandemic and continues to do so.
thank you.
Hi, Christine, it's Lauren.
Hi.
Hey, you guys do a great job. There's so many programs you guys offer. I love visiting the library with my kids and myself. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Though the electronic media, that's your Libby service. Is that right? How people take books out on their Kindles? Or that's how I do it, at least.
It is, our electronic media is downloadable ebooks, e-audiobooks, magazines, and now it's also streaming video service that we have.
Mhm.
So it's all of that.
Oh, streaming video. Okay. That's
Yeah. And honestly, it's expensive. I don't know if any of you have been following the ebook legislation over at the state capitol. The usage of e-content for public libraries is much, much different than for personal usage. We pay a much higher rate for items. Public libraries can only lease items. We really actually don't purchase them. We lease items and then loan them out on a very difficult lending model. So e-content is really a line item that I'm going to have to pay very close attention to as we move forward.
interesting. Thanks.
It is interesting. And I'm
Yeah.
happy to answer any questions on that if anybody has any outside of this meeting as well.
Are people taking out as many books these days as they used to, or you said you're seeing an increase in the electronic, but are books being taken out all the time still?
Oh, they definitely are. And our circulation in January of physical content was up almost 9% from
Okay.
the previous year. But our e-content definitely is outpacing that. We are very fortunate to belong to a library consortium. So we borrow materials from other libraries for our residents, and we definitely take that into consideration when we are making purchases, that we have a consortial model.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Christine, how's your staffing right now? Are you fully staffed or are you still seeking people?
We are down one full-time position due to some staff shuffling around. That the civil service exam for that takes place this Friday.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chair, through you,
Yes,
is the difference in the wages kind of from the contract negotiations and settling, kind of like what we saw in the previous couple of sessions? It's like the increase overall is 7.5%.
For our regular wages, yes, it is. That's all contractual.
So it's like they were settled this year, so there's back pay in that.
Mhm. I did request a new position to be added to the budget this year that did not make it through the mayoral process. So what you are seeing for regular wages is our current staffing level that we have had for the past number of years.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
With more and more people doing the ebooks,
Mhm.
what's your vision? Do you think it creates more efficiencies around staff, or has just duties and responsibilities shifted a little bit, or where do you think that'll go over the next couple of years?
I really think its duties and responsibilities have shifted. Many of our users are not digital natives nor fully comfortable with the digital environment. So much of our work has migrated towards training. We do a lot of technical training. We do a lot of one-on-one tech help now with our residents, and that is a number that is increasing more and more. We never used to keep track of our tech help as a statistic, a separate statistic from reference assistance. We do now. I can tell you just in January, we had over 125 sessions, 121 sessions of just one-on-one staff help. And that's, detailed help, not just a one-on-one question, people bringing in their devices, asking how to use them, how to best optimize their usage. So it really is a shifting.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, if there's nothing further, thank you for your time, presentation.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Page 20, community development.
Good evening, Finance.
Oh, hi, Julie.
Committee?
How are you?
Hi. Thank you for accommodating my request to change this evening. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
My budget is flat, status quo. Nothing asked for, no new additions. Keeping things steady. So we had a great year last year from an economic development standpoint. A lot of new business starts each and every year continues to go up. This year is going to be an exciting year as we're working on an economic development strategic plan, specifically focused on post-COVID rehabilitation of the community and businesses. So I hope many of you will be part of the process as we move forward. But as for the budget, we are status quo. Happy to take any questions.
Excellent. Any questions from the board? Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Julie.
Thanks, Julie.
Take care. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
All right, page 16, Milford Government Access TV.
I'm here to speak on behalf of the Milford Government Access TV Committee.
Hi, Carol.
We have a modest increase. We had a very ambitious ask at the beginning of the budget season, but we're happy to work with under the conditions that the current numbers that are out there. We are each year, I feel like we do just a little bit more, and we're really pleased. We've been covering more each year. We've added inland wetlands and planning of conservation and development meetings. We have had some technical problems we've been managing this year, and thanks to our amazing producers, Lindsay Wahuchi and Wahuchi, we've been working through, we had end of life issues on one of our broadcast servers. And so through grant funding, we've replaced some of this equipment, and we're just at the very end of our install. And we're hoping that all of these, all the technical issues that we've had recently will be resolved. But we're excited at some of the new technology that we have. We hope in the next month or so, when we finish this install, that some of the streaming that we're doing will not only go to YouTube, but will also go to the channel simultaneously. Right now, everything that we stream, we have to download a file, convert it, and then put it up on the channel. Pretty soon, we won't need to do that because we'll be with these new file servers. They send it to the cloud, and the cloud syndicates it to YouTube and also sends it to the broadcast channels. So that's exciting, and that'll actually save us a lot of time in the end. So that's really the newest developments for us at MGAT, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Kara. Any questions from the board?
Hi, Kara.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
There's no fee for the YouTube to stream everything onto YouTube. Is that right?
No, there's no fee, but what you will see is that users will see ads from time to time. So even nonprofits, government agencies, when we are given the privilege of, we don't get ad revenue back from YouTube, but they basically serve ads to the people that watch our stuff, watch our content. It's a completely free service. What we do pay for is obviously the internet fees to have the service going out.
Got it.
We actually have our own internet account at City Hall And that's really to, for security issues that we're not actually sharing an outbound internet line with the city.
Okay. Thanks.
Mhm.
Thank you for your
And-
hard work.
Just a quick
Thanks.
question, I just need a refresher. Where, like for the producers, for all the camera people, where are those costs?
That's
the-
in the line that is, so I can break this down. I actually pulled this up. So, the line that is government cable service. So that $28,000, that is, all of the personnel costs, that is solely for labor costs for the 12 months of covering all these meetings and events. You know, we also do community events. We've done the Lawform football game. We do graduations. We do the police academy graduation. So all of our labor costs are covered in that amount, which I think is pretty frugal in my mind. We're able to do a lot with what we have, but
Understood. Thank you so much.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Page 88, Borough of Woodmont. I see Mr. Benessi.
Good evening. How's everybody?
Great.
Very good.
Somehow I got muted, sorry. Welcome.
Do you know what the 3 most used words in the last 3 years are?
Unmute.
I think you're on mute.
You're on mute.
It is for me, that's for sure.
I want to just take this time. This very well could be one of the last meetings that we will be with Ben Blake, Mayor Blake, and I just want to tell you that it has been a privilege and a pleasure working with him over the last 12 years or so on behalf of the Borough of Woodmont. I am actually out of state. I am trying to find all of my notes, but I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. I think I have enough in the back of my brain that'll still be able to answer questions, and I also believe Kit Schmeiser is on as well.
Ed, I just want to say thank you for the kind remarks, and it's always been a pleasure working with the borough. I think that our relationship has gotten stronger each and every year, and I think we've had some productive projects over the last few years, especially after some of the big storms like Irene and Sandy that made the coastline even more resilient.
Yeah, well, that's how it started. If you remember, what a hell of a way to start was Sandy. And we got through it. I'm worried that the clock is ticking, and it's been 10.5 years, and we got hit with 2 in a row. And the last time we had gotten hit hard before that was, I believe it was Storm Beth, December 11th, 1992. And so we went 19 years, and now we're now closing in on that time frame again. It's something that always bothers me. And one thing that we have noticed this year, although, and I should be knocking on wood when I'm saying this, because I understand that we're in the path of a storm that's coming in tonight, but it's been relatively a mild winter. However, we have had storms that have overtopped with a lot of material. And Jimmy Malico has had to clean Beach Avenue, I think about 6 times since December, with gravel and sand and debris blowing up. And I don't ever remember that many times in a short period where we've had to do some fairly heavy duty cleanup along the shoreline, which it's a combination of a bunch of different things. But it's something that's sort of eating away at the budget. We always say, hey, if we have a mild winter, maybe we can pave a few more roads and do another project or two, or fix a few more catch basins. But it's like I said, I am just a little bit concerned about that overall.
Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Benassi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
You look very nice.
Thanks. I'm working.
What are your big projects? Any?
Well, we have one section of roadway that needs paving, and it's the full length of Kings Highway. There is a sidewalk project along New Haven Avenue, and the mayor and I and Justin have talked about that over the last few years. It's one section of New Haven Avenue where I just happen to be driving down it lots of times, and I see people from the eastern side of Woodmont that are actually walking down, elderly people, people carrying bags. And I know where they're going. They're going down to Adams. They're going to Dunkin' Donuts, and they're walking down this busy section of New Haven Avenue, which is unpaved, and they're walking in the street. And I would love to eventually be able to pave that one long block. That's one that's been sort of in the back of my mind. The other big one is the Belmont Street groin, the Belmont Street drainage groin. The city put that in 1978, and it's amazing that it's still there, and it's still in the shape that it's in north of the water, but everything below it, the last three sections are really in disarray. We are in the process of trying to make it one of those shovel-ready programs. We've brought in Westcott and Mapes, and they're doing an analysis for us. We actually interviewed last year several different firms, and Westcott came out on top. And so we're trying to see, it's going to require DEP approval, and anytime you get DEP involved, the price tag ends up going up. So those are the big ticket items. And then, like I said, as I started, anytime along the shoreline, we have well over a mile of roadway along the shore, and we get hammered every time you hear about a storm. We're not as low lying as Bayview and Point Beach, but we do have the roadway very close to the beach and close to the mean high water mark, and it's a constant cleanup battle.
Yeah, I know.
And not to mention catch basins. We have several old catch basins, which are about $4,500 a piece to repair each one, to rebuild, plus or minus. Kit, anything you want to add?
No, I think the significant cost of paving, which obviously everyone has to deal with, but we'll see what prices look like as we go forward. But there's still Kings Highway is a substantial project, and
we have done many more miles of roadway in the last 10 years than we've done prior to. And that's mainly because of the way we're doing it. We're tagging on with the city and the state contract, which is helping drive down our per, I guess, square yard or mile charge. So we've been fortunate with that. However, I don't know what's going to happen now with, with the fuel costs and the overall price of materials and construction and that sort of a thing going up everywhere.
Thank you for taking time out of your workday to meet with us tonight. Appreciate it. Anything further from the board?
That's it. Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you both. Okay, moving on, page 92, Boys and Girls Club. Hey,
Good
Megan.
evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I guess tonight's the night we're all doing this from our hotel rooms. I'm traveling for work as well. We all have the fake background of hotel rooms.
Well, hopefully you're somewhere warm where there's not gonna be any snow.
Well, Washington, D.C., so
Oh.
not exactly warm, but no snow.
Well, you're welcome
I
to
just
make a
want-
statement if you like.
Thank you very much. I just want to thank everybody for allowing me to be here tonight. The reason we are asking for an increase is because the Boys and Girls Club has had a very large increase in number of youth we've served. We calculate our numbers from July 1st. So last year from July 1st till February 27th, we served a total of 549 members. This year we've served 957. So we have almost twice as many kids that we've served this year. That coupled with the increase in minimum wage that's consistently going up and the increase in everything around us going up. We're doing our best to meet the budget demands of everything that it takes to operate the Boys and Girls Club. And we're just looking for a little extra support from the city to help us do that. Does anybody have any questions?
Hi, good evening. What's the reason for nearly doubling the members over last year or two?
I think that now that parents have kind of gotten the word that we're in the schools, so we're in the 4 schools on the east side of town. Orange Ave, I always mess up on this. Orange Ave, Calf Pen. Why am I blinking? Oh goodness. The 4 over there. I'm sorry. We serve Matthewson,
Live Oaks and
Meadowside.
Orchard.
Thank you so much. Oh my
There you
God, I had
go.
such a blank. Early flight this morning. We are in the schools. We've been in the schools for several years now, and I think parents are just getting used to us being there and see the value in our program. So with that, coupled with us being back at the Boys and Girls Club where we can serve more kids for the other 4 schools, it's just growing. We have over 100 kids still on our waiting list. So the new Boys and Girls Club is definitely going to be put to good use.
That's great.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, Megan, thank you for you taking your time out of your schedule tonight to meet with us. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving right along, page 27, DPLU. Okay, so Mr. Griffin, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you? Thanks
Good.
for taking time for me today. I guess very briefly, our expense line items have are consistent and stayed the same since last year. However, our payroll has increased happily, significantly. And I say that only because you'll see our building officials are now, I'll say, competitive with neighboring towns. We're by no means the top payer, but I think now we are attracting some candidates, and not surprisingly, the vacant position that's been vacant for the last 4 or 5 years. We've got a couple of candidates that we're talking to right now. So I see that as a positive move that's giving us direct results. Beyond that, our revenues are continuing to be higher than expected, and I attribute that just to the efficiencies through our online permitting programs, as well as just I mean, solar collectors are just pouring into our office, the applications for solar permits and what have you. So just see that as just kind of the, I think, temper of the times these days. But beyond that, I think we're I think managing pretty well in terms of keeping up with the workload and getting our services out to the to people. So, any questions?
Thank you. Any members of the board have any questions? Okay.
All right. I think I'm also up for your the zoning board of appeals, and so
Well, you are, but you know, we've sort of changed our process here where we're not really going through the boards or commissions that have nominal amounts. So
okay.
you're off the hook.
The $600.
$600, yeah.
That's nominal. Okay.
I guess it's all relative, but comparatively.
Yes. Okay. Well, thanks very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Griffin.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Page 43. Police Department, I see Chief Mello and Brian Roget. How are you, Brian? Been a while.
Very good, thank you.
Good. What's your rank now? How should I address you?
Right-hand man to Chief Mello, Deputy Chief.
Well, either condolences or congratulations are in order. Well, I'll give you both.
I'll take the congratulations for sure.
All right. Well, congratulations. Mr. Mello, how are you, sir?
I'm fine. How are you this evening?
Good.
Good evening, everyone. As you can see in our budget, there's the increase is relative to the contractual the working agreement settlement, which constituted 3 years of raises. So you'll see a jump in all the all the personnel accounts, all the wage accounts, all the way down. The only other increases that you'll see in here, there's some maintenance agreement increases for software maintenance for the CAD RMS software. Motorola increased their maintenance on the communication costs. And you'll see we've absorbed this year the second year of some of the dash cam video and cloud storage costs that were baked into, were baked into the ARPA funds last year. Otherwise, there are no new programs and everything else stays the same. I also want to direct you to, you'll notice there's a request for one additional police officer there as well. If you recall, last year I had requested 4 additional officers, and there was considerable conversation about that at the Board of Aldermen meeting. That was not added to the budget, and at that point I had indicated that I would be seeking that request again this year. In meeting with the mayor during our budget meeting, Mayor Blake had agreed to give us those 4 officers at the rate of 1 officer per year for the next 4 years. So you'll see that additional officer in there.
Okay.
I just had a quick question on staff. Did we hire social workers last year?
We did. We added social workers, 2 licensed clinical social workers using ARPA funds. So they weren't in the budget last year. They're not in the budget this year either.
Okay.
Chief, how are you? This is Scott Moulton.
I'm just wondering, are the ARPA funds, coming to an end?
I directed Mayor Blake on that. My understanding, it was a 2-year funding source.
Mr. Chairman, through you to Mr. Arnold, we are supposed to expend those monies over the course of a 3-year period. We are now in year 2. And we have another year, is my understanding, for all of the ARPA money. If there is a project that the construction timeline is extensive, I think that we're allowed to have an additional 2 years once money has been encumbered to complete that construction project. But the intent of the legislation for ARPA was that it's money to be used soon, so that it injects financial health into the post-COVID economy. And that was the legislative intent behind it. So the funds were intended to be used during a short period of time, but we still have a bit of additional time to utilize those funds.
So the 2 social workers will stay on staff.
They're funded through this year, yes.
Okay. Thanks.
So we'd have to build that. So those 2 social workers, then those are above and beyond the 4 additional officers that you're looking to add. So you fast forward a few years out, you're net 6 new full-time staff. Is that?
6 new headcount. If this board and the mayor, the board, and the aldermen are inclined to support holding on to the 2 social workers, and which they are, and when the time comes, I'll be certainly articulating the value and what our request as well.
Sure. How's your staff? How are your numbers currently? I mean, are we at full capacity here, or are we down anybody, or what do you?
Sure. So we have seen a 60% increase in the nutrition rates, and so we have 9 officers that are completing their field training, and in a short period of time, those 9 officers will begin taking calls, and they'll be on 1-year probation. At the same time, we have 8 additional openings. I anticipate we'll have 11 openings by the end of the fiscal. And so that's where we stand with openings. And we also have 5 on medical leave, long-term medical leave, and we have 1 officer who spends 3/4 of her time with the military. And so we don't get a lot of time with her because she's neither in San Diego or in Virginia.
Understood. Thank you.
Chief, on page 45 of the uninterrupted power source, is that some sort of fuel cell, or is it something that you can provide some information on?
Sure. That's the battery backup for our systems that keep all of our MIS and communication systems running. There's a few different sources, but this is the main UPS. Every 5 years, they have to do a complete overhaul and complete test. And so that's what that cost is, at $44,000.
Okay.
What I mean by complete test, commissioners, they do a complete load test over a series of days. Electrical load.
Understood. So this is a recurring charge every several, 5 years or so, basically.
Right.
The increase, I mean, I see the annual charge, but it's an increase because of the special services.
Right. So every year they do a test. It's every that's 15,000, and then every 5 years they do this complete load test over time, just to make sure that we have the redundancy to keep our systems up and running.
Thank you.
I could just ask a quick question on the radar speed signs. Is that predominantly more of a public safety, public service, or are those speed signs, do they have the ability to, for lack of phrasing, generate revenue and capture people breaking the rules there?
The former. They're public safety, public service. While they'll measure speed and display speed, they can also provide data. Like we have the old traffic counters where you see the tubes that go across the road, and they measure speed and they measure counts. Some of these, not these here, but some of these can a little bit more pricey, can collect that data, but they don't. There are in Connecticut, there's no legislative approval for speed cameras or red light cameras, so we couldn't use it for that. We'd have to have it. There would have to be an officer there using that equipment, which is normally handheld or car mounted.
Are you able to move those around the city, or once they're put in tact, that's where they stay?
These in particular are stationary. And so we look at areas where we're getting a lot of complaints, and we have tried enforcement and some other things. Before we go to re-engineering, we put these signs up, and we're limited in where we put those because not everybody wants them. They usually have a solar panel on them as well, and they sometimes can emit a flashing light as well. But where in places we put those, they're on Gulf Street. There's one on Governor's Ave. There's actually a number of them around the city, and for the most part, they've been pretty effective, especially to those folks that don't realize that they're offending, and it reminds them that they're to slow down. So we have had some pretty good success with them, and we try to keep a small number of them in the inventory.
I was asking for a friend. Thank you.
Sure.
Either the chief or the Peter, refresh my recollection on the police cruisers revenue account and how that works, because I can't seem to put my brain to work as to how the cruisers are being funded now.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, I'll leave it to Peter, but just as you probably recall in the background, historically they were part of the operating budget. And Mayor Blake moved those over to his vehicle acquisition account. Normally I submit those to him, and then he funds them, and I'll let Peter pick up the rest on that account.
Peter, are we doing that through bonding, or are we doing it through some other revenue source?
So, Mr. Chairman, about 15 to 18 years ago, we used to have the rolling stock program. The rolling stock program was built into the budget as a line item for all city vehicles other than police. And we switched that over to the vehicle acquisition program, where at the end of the year, we took the fund reserve that we had, kind of the rainy day fund, and we took a look at what we could afford. And we determined that the vehicle acquisition program was going to be funded at the end of the year through an allocation transfer. So we changed that about 16 to 18 years ago. The police department cruisers were never really shifted over to that vehicle acquisition plan, other than the administrative vehicles. Well, the police cruisers about 5 or 6 years ago, we shifted over to a similar, to that same plan, where we funded at the end of the year through an allocation transfer. And so probably, I think the last 5 budget cycles, we have not funded the police cruisers out of the operating budget. We've funded them out of the fund reserve. However, the one caveat is last year. Last year, the police cruisers were funded out of the ARPA funds. So we did fund those separately because we had that one-time injection of money. The expectation is that it's going to roll back to the vehicle acquisition plan through an allocation transfer, which is what we've done for about the last 4 or 5 previous years.
Okay. And then why did we get Chevys from Fords?
It's a good question. Ford actually, with their new increase or their new model, their price was slightly higher than the Chevys. And the Chevy's a bigger car. We felt it was more suitable for police work. But we really look at price. If the price is really the difference is de minimis, then we'll pick the better vehicle. But in this case, financially, it made a lot of sense for us.
What's a fully fitted cruiser running these days?
A fully fitted cruiser?
Yeah.
So the cruisers are probably running about 37 now, about 33, and then another 20,000 for equipment. That equipment can be reused for a period of time until they change the model, and then we've got to buy new equipment. And that's what we've seen with the Ford Explorers. They made minor changes to the model, but it caused us to have to buy some new equipment. There's a lot of money in those cruisers. And a lot of that gets absorbed, through just reusing old stuff, provided the model doesn't change. But we have Fords and we have Chevys, and we also have some Chevys on order, but we'll pay attention to the cost. I will likely, just for the record, put the cars in the budget again next year. Mayor Blake's been really supportive when it comes to equipment and cruisers, and so that's why it's not in there. But next year I'll likely put it back in there, and then let the city decide how they want to fund that.
Okay. So your cruisers are only running about 60,000 to get them on the road? That seems like a pretty good price. I mean, roughly, yeah, roughly.
Yeah, roughly, because we're reusing a lot of equipment, and we actually buy a lot of refurbished equipment as well.
Okay.
The tough thing about the equipment in the cars is they're on 24 hours a day, and there's a lot of rattling. And you take a car with 30,000 miles, it looks like it has 130,000 miles.
Right.
But our people do a pretty good job of taking care of it, and Public Works does a great job of managing and servicing them.
And one last question on the cruisers. So you'd like to turn over four or five every cycle? Is that?
No, well, when I became chief, we used to get between 10 to 12 cruisers a year.
Okay.
Due to price, we brought that down, and we to about 5 or 6.
Right.
6 we feel is the optimum number. It has. We have seen most years where there's an insurance payoff where we wind up getting 5 out of the budget, and then we add another one through insurance or something. A car that's either been in an accident or one case it was in a flood. So we've been managing with about 6 cruisers a year.
Okay. Thank you. Anything further from the board? Okay. Excellent. Thank you both for your time.
Thank you.
Me.
Good night, everyone.
Okay. Last but not least, animal control. Page 59.
Good evening.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, all right. Basically, my budget's going to remain the same. The only additions that I am asking for is $1,000 in temp seasonal and $500 to cover rising electric cost.
Okay.
The temp seasonal minimum wage is going up here in June. Any questions?
No. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, through you.
Yes, Mr. Arnold.
You were saying that you're going up $500 on electricity. Oh, okay. No, I see it now. I was looking at the wrong place. Sorry, I'm good.
Well, I think I ask this every year, but how is the working relationship with Orange going? Have you found that to be mutually beneficial to the city?
Yes, I have.
Good.
Mr. Chairman, just as a note, I do know that our city attorney's office is broaching the issue of Orange with the council's office in Orange, because we are looking to see if there's the ability to renegotiate or get a increase, whether that's consistent with the CIP or something else just because costs are increasing and we have not adjusted the contractual amount in several years. So I do know that the city attorney's office is working on that as we speak.
Excellent. I didn't get a chance to look at the revenue side, but is it the dog fund or is it called something else? No,
It's in a reserve fund.
it's in a reserve fund. Okay.
It's still $75,000 plus a tank of gas each year, but are looking to kind of get some type of cost of living adjustment included in the agreement that we have with Orange.
Okay, thank you for that information, Mr. Mayor.
And I think I said CIP, I meant CPI.
Yes. Okay, anything further from the board? Okay, well, thank you, everyone. We've got a busy week coming up. So, assuming, well, Wednesday should be fine, I would think. Peter, I guess we'll play Thursday by ear. It looks like we have got a 2-week interval in case we have weather on Thursday. If we need to push it into next week, I suppose. Is that something that may be possible? If we have, looks like a unsettled week weather-wise for Thursday night. So.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the unsettled weather may be more toward Friday morning.
Okay.
Perhaps, so I think we may be okay, but of course we'll monitor the forecast for Thursday.
All right. All right. Hey, God, it's been so long. Conference room B is up where we used to meet, or is it a new location? Did they reconfigure the conference room?
Same room as we as usual, next to the finance office, second.
Excellent. It's been so long since we met in person, I can't remember. So just a reminder that Thursday night's meeting will be in person. Zoom meeting on Wednesday for Board of Ed at 5:30. And if there's nothing further from the board, we'll entertain a motion for recess until Wednesday, March 1st.
I'll make a motion that we recess until Wednesday, March 1st, 2023, where we'll reconvene via Zoom at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Mullen. Seconded by Lauren. Any discussion on the motion? Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? See you Wednesday night.
All right.
Take care, everybody. Be safe.
Thank you all.
You guys.